Francis Henry Atkins was a British writer and civil engineer of whom nothing much is known. Born in Oxford in 1847, he had spent some time in prison for obtaining money via deception. He contributed to pulp magazines and published books under the names Frank Aubrey and Fenton Ash. His son, Frank Howard Atkins Jr., was also a novelist, using the Fenton Ash name as well. Atkins died in Clapham in 1927. His The Deviltry of El Dorado was the earliest of his fantastic novels, coming out in 1896. His other novels in this vein are A Queen of Atlantis and King of the Dead, the latter one not yet digitized. The novel begins with a preface which admits the aim of the book is to aid in a territorial dispute between Great Britain, Brazil and Venezuela over Mount Roraima, to be hopefully resolved in favour of Britain. Aubrey does make his distaste for Venezuela clear, calling it a miserable little state where civil anarchy is chronic and neither life nor property is secure. The narrative begins in 1890 in Georgetown, British Guyana. A young man named Leonard Elwood is visited by his friend and caught red-handed in another of his flights of fancy as concerning Roraima. It is his favourite subject, but his friend, Jack Templemore, is a bit less gung-ho about the entire thing. Leonard, meanwhile, had come into some property, enough to allow him to go on an expedition to Roraima, and Jack agrees to it eventually because the £300 offered him will give him enough financial liquidity to marry his sweetheart Maud Kingsford. Leonard is to go along with Dr. Loreen, a botanist and affluent retired physician, and his son. As the preparations are gone into, the doctor meets a very singular person, Monella, a tall, charming man with a magnetic personality who seems to speak every known language and whose age is indeterminable. Monella also has in his keeping certain old scrolls, by which he hopes to reach El Dorado, and he wishes the aid of Loreen and his companions, their destinations being one and the same. Of course, the entrance to El Dorado is found, after a long trek, in a cavern within Mount Roraima. Along the way, Jack manages to find and tame a puma as a pet, and then save a fair maiden from being beset upon by a man with ill intentions. And of course she is revealed to be Ulama, a princess of the white race of natives who live at El Dorado. The story progresses in typical Lost Race fashion. Perhaps the one exception is that the natives possess a herb that enables a person to extend one's life near infinitely. In due course, Leonard and Ulama become romantically entangled, but oh no! The man the explorers killed was the son of Corion, the dread high priest of the Dark Brotherhood, who through the herb of immortality had been around long enough to sacrifice women and children to a hideous flesh-eating tree for over 2,000 years. Of course, Corion tries to have it chow down on Leonard, but the men serving the Dark Brotherhood are very easily convinced to switch sides, since sacrificing women and children to a monster tree will probably not endear you to anybody. Monella is revealed to be a long-lost king who had lost his memory, and the entire Dark Brotherhood is sacrificed to the Devil Tree instead. There are a whole 60 pages of minor irrelevance afterwards, before the novel ends with a further plea to keep those horrid Venezuelans away from Roraima. The book is rather typical Lost Race stuff, the title being the best thing about it. Sadly, the titular Devil Tree barely shows up in the book at all.